The last things that I wanted to talk about, I wanted to talk about how after these experiences, something that's been really hard to cope with is that, you know, no one would call me a mother because I don't have a baby to prove that I'm a mother, but I experienced at least, um, you know, 6 months worth of pregnancy, technically. I had 3 miscarriages, all um, happening, having the miscarriage at around 10 weeks each time. So together that's, almost a full pregnancy there. So I think now I see motherhood as a spectrum, whereas before I think it was very black and white. Um, and I think that all people, not necessarily even women, can be mothers and can have those mothering qualities about them. And they don't have to actually have a physical baby to prove that they're a mother. And I think that's what's so hard about miscarriage, though, and what I think a lot of people who've never experienced it don't understand, and why it makes it hard for them to come and talk to people who have had this kind of a loss, is because they don't understand that motherhood is a spectrum. We're spoon-fed, this idea about what motherhood is from movies and TV, and it's really just not like that. It comes in a lot of different forms. So I think that's really important. And I think, again, kind of going back to that's why miscarriage is such a taboo subject, because although the woman physically felt the pregnancy symptoms, experienced the loss physically through her body, and the after effects of that, the hormones leaving her body, and how that affects her, once she gets pregnant, she starts thinking about what her baby's going to look like, what the future is going to be like, planning. And now none of that's going to occur. It just got cut down. And there's no physical proof of that loss. Whereas, if you lose a family member, you have a funeral. That's very standard. There's generally nothing done, no sort of ceremony, unless, perhaps you're from another culture where that's a part of your culture to have some sort of ceremony to mark an early pregnancy loss or even a child loss. So I think that's something that's been really hard for me to cope with, the idea that this traumatic thing happened to me and no one is going to say anything about it. And there's part of me that really wants to remind everyone this happened to me. And not that I want sympathy, it's just, it's part of my identity now. So, how can I remind people that this happened to me and it's part of who I am? Why do they even need to know that? I don't know. These are questions I ask myself. But I think part of why I wanted to do this video was to have some sort of physical proof of what happened. And I think that it's always important for women to share their stories. I know that watching these videos myself, or listening to stories of other women who have had pregnancy losses, has really helped me cope, not making me feel like such a weirdo for having this thing happen to me, this thing that nobody wants to talk about. So I think that has been a huge roadblock to recovery. And what does recovery even mean? I don't know that I will ever get over any of this. I think that's what you learn about grief, is that you just live with grief. It becomes part of who you are. And how do you move forward out of that? I'm still figuring that out. And it's going to take a long time, but I'm glad that I've gone through what I have gone through, and I've learned the lessons I have. I did recently talk with that aunt who had multiple miscarriages when I was a child, and she still remembers all of it like it was yesterday. So, yeah, I don't think that I'll ever not stop thinking about these things, and that's scary to me. It's sad to me. but it's also just who I am now. So learning to accept that has been really huge.